crying. I know. Are there people crying? No, there's no one crying yet. That's good. I thought there was a bunch of faces down there. Lots of Daenerys's. That's lots of very powerful feeling people today. Awesome. Love it. Alys, Lewis, James, have you contributed yet?
No. Where am I going?
Got to contribute if you're.
I have. I'm feeling very Dumbledore, but I don't even know if that is Dumbledore. But I'm just thinking it is.
No,
that is Dumbledore. You're all right. Assuming you've gone for the one on top left.
Yes, I have.
That's Gandalf.
Oh, there we go. So in my mind, it was Dumbledore.
Oh,
I'm feeling Harry Potter.
I guess is it the same actor?
No, that one's
that's Ian McKellen.
McKellen. Yeah, Dumbledore was a couple of others.
Well, I suppose it all relates by the fact that I've selected the one underneath that can't even manage to get the right actor for the famous film.
That's me getting to fight anyone who doesn't know who Gandalf is.
Me.
I haven't contributed yet. I'm gonna. Yesterday I would have stamped the crying one because I had a big hiccup yesterday on a webinar that we ran. So apologies if anyone's here and they tried to join our webinar yesterday and couldn't get in. Then that's my fault. Apologies for that.
I'm liking the fact that some people have got like a little picture. Adam, you got a little actual picture of yourself rather than just your initials. Look at that.
You can add. I think somehow when you set up, if you're super keen, which I am. But obviously I run a lot of these, so I need to have my little face on there.
I'm not going to risk suddenly removing myself from the room accidentally.
Folks, we'll just give it one more minute, just while we're doing, just giving it like 1 more minute for anyone else to join before we kick off. Don't have to do this, but feel free to drop something in chat to say hi. LinkedIn profiles, connect with each other. Like we're big on trying to build some connection through community and stuff at OpenOrg. So let us know who you are, where you are, and say hi to other folks as well. Yes, Alexander, you're right. It was great. There was so much interest, but a bit of a human error that I've learned from. We'll move on from.
We're always learning.
Yeah, always. It's all good. Cool. Well, look, I reckon let's kick on. Feel free again to share LinkedIn profiles throughout and say hi to each other. I reckon we should get started because we've got lots and lots to crack on with today. So I'm just going to close Gandalf and we can push on. So yeah, folks, thank you again so much for joining another OpenOrg session. If OpenOrg's new to you and you haven't seen us before, come across us before, check us out when you've got a spare few minutes. We are building the most awesome AI-powered resource library and learning library for startup, scale-up people teams. So come and check out the content pass. It's very, very cool. And there is an AI assistant in there called Gandalf that you should definitely come and see as well. But yeah, thank you for joining. And thank you also to Lewis, James, and Alys for joining us today as well. I'm going to step back as much as possible and let you all chat and contribute today. But before we dive in, just wanted to tee up today's session and reframe why we're here and what we're here to talk about, and then let these amazing folks introduce themselves. So we got chatting very recently, Lewis and I discovered the Huggg platform recently post an event that we ran, and I loved it, and we got chatting more and more about recognition and the importance of it, the ever increasing importance of it in this sort of growing era of AI, and I'm seeing more and more people now leaning more into how we can retain some level of humanity in companies and human connection, etc. And so we decided this could be a really awesome opportunity to run a session around this for folks. And James is a long-standing OpenOrg community member and is super passionate about this topic as well. So it felt really good to pull into this, and Alys as well. I know you do a lot of work around here, so excited to hear your voice. I'm going to pass over to all three of you to just do like a bit of an intro so folks get a bit of a feel for who you are. Alys, do you want to kick us off?
Of course, yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Alys Peart. I work at Octopus Electric Vehicles. So we are a leasing company. We are part of the wider Octopus Energy Group. I don't think you can go anywhere these days and not see Constantine, which I have a little one here. So if you haven't, this is Constantine, our octopus. But yeah, so I'm a chief of staff. I look after everything people, culture, and well-being at Octopus EV. I've been with them for 6 years and seen many different flavours of Octopus, and Octopus has a very unique culture in the way that we look after people. So that's why I was drawn to Open Org and to Adam, and we work very, very closely with Huggg. We are big Huggg users in Octopus EV, and I wouldn't be without it. So yeah, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, thank you, James.
Hi everyone. Yes, so I have basically probably made Adam's ears bleed by the amount of time I speak about recognition and the power of recognition and its superpower and everything else. So I guess that's advance warning before we start this from my side, is that Adam might need to cut me off on the mute button. But other than that, I'm super excited and just thrilled to see so many people join in and spreading the message about it all. My day job is a head of HR for a tech consultancy. Before that, I've been many things, including a teacher, a project manager in tech, and worked in charities and all sorts. So definitely the squiggly career.
So many teachers, so many ex-teachers in HR that I kind of it's like a learning thing for people that I don't know. But yeah, awesome. Thank you, James, and excited to hear your thoughts. It never gets boring. And yeah, Lewis, you're last but not least.
Yes, hello. So yeah, I'm Lewis. I'm commercial director at Huggg, so looking after sales and marketing. I've been here about 7 years now. I joined right at the start when it was actually a smartphone app where you could send coffees to your friends, and it was consumer focused. But then when we looked into who was using it the most, it was like line managers and HR that were wanting to show appreciation to their teams. So that's really the path that we went down. We're now a gift-led recognition platform. So I help Octopus and Monzo and Just Eat and a bunch of others with like really gift-led recognition programs, basically. So yeah, excited to be here today.
Awesome, thank you all of you, and yeah, hopefully this is really enjoyable for folks. And before we dive into talking about AI inevitably, I just want to I thought this could be like a really nice opportunity to baseline what we mean when we sort of say recognition, because actually there's like a few different words that sort of like surround recognition or often get sort of bundled in with that. We've got recognition and appreciation and reward and et cetera, and I find sometimes through conversations that people aren't like always fully clear on the difference between them and how you might use each of these in a slightly different way. So James, I'm going to come to you for this because in an old Open Org session, some folks here might have heard this previously. You had like an amazing ice cream analogy to help like describe what this looks like. So I'm just going to like look to you first to maybe help frame and baseline this, if that's okay.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna leave that ice cream analogy as a teaser just for now. But for me, recognition is the action, and it is free and infinite. And I think that's how I would help if anyone's wondered kind of how to differentiate. For me, recognition is the action, and it is free and infinite. From anyone to anyone for anything at any time. And that leads you to the ice cream analogy, which is, okay, well, you can give anyone an ice cream and you can give it to them at any time. But if you wait too long, that ice cream will have melted and it won't be a very nice ice cream. And if you give someone a vanilla ice cream and they really like chocolate, again, they're going to be like, oh, thanks, but they're not really going to appreciate it. And then that leads to how you can think of the importance of recognition, about giving it to someone as soon as possible, letting them know why you've given it to them, rather than just here's an ice cream, being like, here's an ice cream because you really helped me out the other day, or whatever that might be. And then kind of going beforehand, or hopefully, you know, like within an inclusive culture, you might actually be like, hey, do you like chocolate or ice cream? Because I'm, you know, like for the future, it'd be good to know. And then the appreciation side of it is the feeling that the recipient really gets. And that's obviously longer than the ice cream. So using that ice cream analogy further is, you eat the ice cream and it tastes delicious. Great. But you feel good after you've eaten the ice cream. You might also feel a bit guilty, but you feel good and fulfilled, and it's nice, and you enjoy the ice cream, and you have the after effect. So appreciation is bigger than just the recognition action. It lasts longer, and it also includes awards and rewards, and it's the whole, I guess, big circle of how you are felt, not just if you're recognized, but when you get awarded, when you get rewarded, the culture of the organization. Is it a culture in general that you feel appreciated, whether you've done something or not? And one last piece is, with recognition, you can give recognition even when someone fails, whereas you're unlikely to give recognition, or sorry, you're unlikely to give a reward or an award when someone fails. So think of a scenario, I mean, Lewis might be a good example. You worked really hard with your team on providing a pitch to a company, to a sales team, and you know that everyone's done a fantastic job. For whatever reason, that company says, you know what, thanks very much, Lewis, but we're not going to sign today. In a often scenario, you go, okay, well, we didn't get that, so we didn't win, so we're not going to do anything, we're not going to celebrate. In a recognition mindset, you go, hey guys, okay, didn't work out, but I tell you what, as a team, we did such a fantastic job. I bet you if we work the way together, we listen together, and we collaborate together, we'll get the next one. And that philosophy will have far greater reward long term, even if you don't win every single game. And I guess that's kind of like a sports mindset, right? They always talk about the process and, you know, focusing on doing the right inputs, because the results will come. And then I will pause.
I love that. And Lewis, Alice, have you got any similar ice cream type analogies, or can you, like, does that resonate with you a little bit?
I'm definitely stealing the ice cream analogy.
Yeah, I am as well. I was just going to say that. Like, I was like thinking, how can I quickly jot this down? So I might have to follow up with James so I can like share it with the team. I don't have anything similar, but I think it really resonates that, you know, anyone can recognise, but it's up to individuals as to, you know, how they feel appreciated. But I think I really love the fact that you said about the, like, giving someone a chocolate ice cream or a vanilla and they might want chocolate. I think that's really key, isn't it? Of to like how someone wants to be recognised is really, really, really key.
Yeah.
And I just loved it overall. I love the ice cream analogy.
Where
did it come from? Was it you, or it's you? Yeah. Okay. Trademark that.
Yeah, a patent pending on that. There will be a takeaway doc. I'll try and like summarize it as best as I can, or get James to do that. So don't worry if you missed it. But I think like it's interesting as well. It's really cool to like remind yourself that actually recognition can be in failure, as it were, as well. Like it's not just tied to like success, which makes it an opportunity to practice it a lot more regularly day to day, and also the fact that it's owned by everyone, because I don't know how many people watching or listening like feel this, but it gets lumped onto HRs like that quite often by a lot of companies. Like they feel responsible for doing this or driving this quite often, and it actually should be everyone's roles. So yeah, thank you, James, for baselining that. I'd love to like know a little bit about where it sort of shows up, where some of these sort of moments show up in companies. We've got for anyone who's in the Open Org Slack community, we've got like a really cool, my favorite channel is like our gratitude channel. And again, it doesn't have to be for like moments of success. It could just be like recognizing things that people have done for each other. Alice, I think you were saying you've got something for us as well.
Yeah, and we have a channel called OEV Appreciation that we have is linked to Huggg. So we give everybody, every team member, every senior leader a monetary amount to spend in Huggg, and you send appreciation in that channel. It is actually, we've just had our senior leadership offsite this week, and it has been the most talked about thing, because we all have shit days, and I say this in all of my onboarding. Everybody has a shit day, but OED appreciation is like the place that uplifts you, because it's so nice to see people celebrating each other, recognizing each other, appreciating each other for all the work they're doing. And James, to your point about about failures, like that channel isn't just people going, you did a great job. It's people living our values and whatever that looks like. And I think that is so important. And I think one of the things that I think is really important in that channel is that there is human. We're all human beings, and we live in a virtual world. And I think we will come on to talk about AI, but it does come back to that human connection. Yeah, okay, one person might be in Brighton and one person might be in Manchester, but it does just bring us back to this human level of, I see you and I see you doing a good job, or I see you, like, you struggled with that, but you still carried on. I think that's like one of the most important things. And it has been an absolute, like, if people talk about it all the time, and we do link it to Huggg. We've got a very simple API between Huggg and Slack, and it's mega. Like, people, like, it's one of our key culture carriers. So yeah, it's big for us.
Love it. Awesome. And like, I think that it's I mentioned before I move on, actually, James Lewis, like, have you got any other Slack channels aside, for example, any other like ways in which this shows up in your businesses, like your teams, and how you work with them?
I think Slack channels they're good. They don't overcomplicate things, do they? Everyone's on there, everyone can go in, everyone's got visibility, but then just public shout outs on calls or in meetings or in person. Like, it's simple and it costs nothing, but it means a lot to people. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like our customer, I think the customers that have the most success with this sort of stuff are people that are recognizing the inputs as well as, or instead of the outputs, like cultural values, like company values and behaviors and stuff like that, are the big ones.
Yeah. How does it show up in our place? It shows up in our cafe. So we're a small team. We're sort of like 50 people. So for us, we're fully remote as well, which might be the case for people that have joined. So for us, we have a virtual cafe, but for us, that is kind of the melting pot of all things. And so that's where we do that kind of recognition and shout outs and everything else. One of the things I would love at a previous place that was far bigger that we were looking into ourselves was, and if this is another takeaway, is if there's any way of building into your HRIS or a Huggg, I don't use Huggg, so I don't know what it does under the tin, some sort of recognition profile, right? So we ask people for their date of birth, their passport, all of this kind of legal stuff. I would, something that we try and do on our onboarding is, with our manager, we'd encourage our manager to ask those questions about, well, who is the person that's joining your team? How much do you know about them? Yes, they can do the job of a developer or a sales or whatever their job title is, but who are they? And from that, you can start to suddenly go, oh, you know what, we support the same football team, or we enjoy the same kind of films. And then suddenly, the whole element of what you're going to recognize someone for opens up. Imagine if you're a big film fan and your manager or someone in your team knew that, and they decided that as a reward or an award, they were going to give you something that was way more personal. That, that's the bit about appreciation. That's going to last you a long, long time more than something more generic. Yeah.
I always say people don't take a picture of a gift card. Like, if you received an Amazon gift card, you wouldn't take a picture and post that on Slack, on LinkedIn. But if you were sent something really thoughtful or a box of brownies or something really meaningful, you're probably going to take a picture, share it around, talk about it, remember it. It's so important to get it personal.
We did something recently as my team, there's sort of 15 of us, and we were getting to know each other, and I was like, what is your favorite hug? Because there's a girl in my team who hated when I sent her flowers as a hug, but then my head of L&D, he loves flowers. So I actually did ask that question, because it's like, how do you want to be recognized? Because if I send you flowers, she's like, I don't want flowers. And I'm like, wild assumption that she wanted flowers. So I think it's a great thing to, like, you really want to get to know the team, and I think understanding how they like to feel recognized and appreciated is key.
So,
Sorry, James.
No, I think a good analogy is, I'm not sure if anyone can hark back to sort of their school days, like if someone was properly dressed and the teacher goes, come on, stand up, James, look at James. James has got his shirt tucked in and he's wearing his jumper and he's got his tie, and like the mortifying, this is an example, it didn't happen to me, but I remember being told that was such a mortifying experience. Like the whole point of recognizing is to make it a positive experience. We want them to hopefully do it again, but it's understanding that it can go the other way. And I think part of the reasons for this is trying to help people to gain a bit more confidence is, yes, it might do. So ask that question, how do you want to be recognized? And then you'll have a conversation then about it. And it'll be a lot easier then to be like, hey, I want to recognize you. I want to make sure that it's meaningful to you. And even having that conversation, they'll be like, oh, wow, that was just really impactful. And you haven't even recognized them for anything yet.
I love it. It's like these tiny little human moments that are like showing up. And the best example I've got, which I wasn't involved in, sadly, so I can't take credit for, but around the time that the Dune movies came out, or the first one came out, I think one of my old team mentioned off the cuff on the night out once that he really wanted to read the book, but he just couldn't find it in any of the shops because they'd all sold out. And then like on a Monday morning, someone else on the team came and just dropped this book on this guy's desk. And he was like, what's this? Where did you find it? And he was like, I just happened to be walking past the bookshop on the weekend and saw it in the window, and I thought I'd go and get it for you. It's like there's no need at all to go and do that, but there's this like moment where you like spontaneously surprised, like those things you just can't beat. And I think like all of these things like tease us up nicely for moving on to like the next step here, I suppose, in this session. But like want to sort of think about like why this is more important than ever at the moment. Like we've got this sort of AI conversation looming over us, and this sort of like pressure of like pushing people into this space where we're using AI more, we're sort of more reliant on it, etc. But I'm seeing like some pushback as well, like people wanting to retain these like this human connection and stuff. So maybe like we could talk a little bit about that. Like I see plenty. I'd love to know a little bit about what you're seeing out there as well, like from a Alys, I come to you first because you talked about the fact that this seems to be like the most talked about thing at the moment in your business. Like, why is that? Like, what are you seeing?
So I think there's also like we have a very I hate to use this word because I still think of myself as young, but we have quite a young workforce. So they are like the job market. If I take it back, like a step back, the job market is not what it was. Top end, senior roles but like entry roles, they're struggling to get into the workplace because they're fearing AI. So I think that's why it is very much a conversation at the moment of we are very customer focused. We are very Octopus Energy and Octopus Electric Vehicles, we are very, we put the customer first. So there is a bit of a fear. There's a lot of fear amongst our workforces. Are AI going to take our jobs? So I think there's that element as to why it's being talked about. I think when it comes to recognition, my big thing is human connection is key. Like it's when people grow, it's when people develop, and truthfully, when somebody feels safe and feels seen, they grow and they feel connected, and that's when we do perform at our best, when we can have those conversations. If you look at like the way psychological safety works, it's not through an AI robot, it's through human connection. And I think there are ways in which, even when it is with recognition, you can use AI, you can use technology the same way we have with automating, with Huggg and bringing that all in. But it does require that humanness to see someone and to really connect with that person. So I'm not sure I necessarily have a particular answer, but I definitely know it's something that we're seeing. And actually, even when it comes to like the way we treat our customers, there's AI that can make things quicker, but actually that humanness, that's the element that we need to not forget. And that for us as an organization runs through recognition, but also through the way that we look at L&D, the way we look at hiring. Like there are always elements that can make us go faster, but it is a human that needs to hold the process and also hold the interaction. So I think that's definitely something that we're seeing is a fear amongst the younger generation, because it is different for them. That when I first started work, it was totally there wasn't like 300 people applying for a role. It was maybe 20 of us. So it is different, and I think that we're trying to kind of challenge that with the team with conversation. Like, let's not just put it over there and like not worry about it. Let's hear people and talk about it.
Love that. Yeah, I think it's this like fine line. I talked about this a little bit on the webinar yesterday, and it's an ongoing conversation with everyone. It's like this fine line now of like we have a decision to make now with a lot of things of like, do we use AI for this, or do we just do it the old-fashioned way, like and keep the human touch there? And like one horror story I've seen, which I think could have been done very, very differently with more human approach, was like a people leader I was working with put forward a business case to their CEO, proposed something, spent a lot of time on it. The feedback from a recognition point of view that they got from their CEO, they shared it with me, and it was very, very obviously like ChatGPT. Every word of it, you could just tell, was like lifted from ChatGPT and sent to that people leader. And I just thought, like, how sad, like such like you've got this opportunity to like feedback to recognize someone and the work they've done, and you've not even probably looked at it. And that for me is like an example where a leader has taken the wrong decision to use AI in the wrong way. And so we'll come on to this later on. Actually, I want to like Lewis, you folks built like an amazing diagnostic to like help people think about where and when you can recognize and what that maybe look like. We can maybe come on to that in a bit to sort of show folks. But I think there's this opportunity almost like to map this stuff out a little bit and start thinking about how we use this. I don't know, like James, if, from a people leader point of view, have you started doing this at Bluewave yet? Like anything that you sort of have been thinking about? Because I know this is a big passion space for you as well.
I guess what I'd refer to is the art of effective and meaningful recognition, right? So your example is leaders probably have been told or read somewhere that recognition is a really potential powerful motivator, or like could lead to discretionary additional effort and stuff, and gone, right, cool, right, I'll send that email. But it's probably backfired. It's probably had not just a neutral impact, it's had a negative impact. And so that's kind of the bit that we've been doing is kind of asking about your recognition profile. So people have a personality profile. Are they introvert, extrovert? Are they kind of want to take control of a room, or they prefer to be passive? Or equally, what is your recognition? Do you want to be presented with an award on a stage in front of the whole company? Is that kind of your thing? Or is it hey, I want to celebrate that whole team, and then, hey, Alys, could you just stay back a moment? And then, Alys, just want to single you out privately because I know that you don't want that spotlight on you. And I think that's for us been the thing that has come out. We're fortunate that we're very low hierarchy because we're only 50 people. We literally have directors and then everyone else. So again, there's kind of that aspect. And I don't know if that's something that other organizations can look at, is the connection aspect that Alys has referred to. I think also the reverse recognition, I think that we've spoken out on our prep call, was it, to my point, it can go in any direction, anyone to anyone. And it's surprising how suddenly, that really scary or really abrupt individual suddenly becomes a human being again. And once they've turned back into a human being, they a lot of the cases they sort of thaw out to an extent and they retain their humanity, but sometimes they've got so lost in their accountability, seniority and responsibility and stress that they've become sort of frozen to it all. I mean, sometimes it takes the new joiner even to be like, hey, thanks very much, and they suddenly go, oh, someone said thank you. That's such a rare thing for me to hear.
Love it. And before we talk a little bit about some more practical stuff that maybe companies should be doing or thinking about to safeguard against some of these threats is a big word, isn't it, to use, but the dangers of leaning too heavily into AI. Lewis, would love to just hear your perspective as well, because you've got a slightly different perspective here. You see a lot from a commercial point of view around customers and people leaders and companies and what they're wanting, to how they wanted to do this and why. So anything you can share there that you're sort of seeing out there?
Yeah, I mean, so over the last 6 years, I've definitely seen a shift from people wanting to control things centrally to people wanting to open recognition up and really build it in as part of the culture. So yeah, pre-COVID, maybe it was centrally done. You would put a request in, that request would then get reviewed, and then a month later something might happen and it's passed and it's lost the moment. Whereas now we're definitely seeing more businesses that are encouraging everyone in the organization to be showing appreciation, but then also giving people small budgets so they can show appreciation with a cup of coffee, like a coffee voucher or a box of brownies or a takeaway voucher or whatever it is. And the real gold standard is when everyone in the business has the ability to do that. But we've definitely seen a shift to even businesses giving line managers and team leaders the ability to do that, which 5 years ago, it didn't feel like there was enough trust there, maybe, to do that. So that's probably the biggest shift we've seen over recent years.
Love that. Yeah, it's probably like a welcome to a lot of HR folks who probably feel historically that maybe sort of a lot of this has been put on their laps to like deal with and manage. And I guess that we're seeing a lot more like they're still owning the framework, as it were, if you like, that sort of sits behind this. Like how do we do it? What tools do we use? Like and how does this fit with our like broader culture, etc. But putting that into the hands of like everyone is a really awesome thing to see. So
yeah,
I think I'm a bit of a vigilante because I've not come from the HR space historically, and like recognition platforms and reward platforms are still sort of relatively new in the wider HR space, right? HRIS has been around for a long time, but these kinds of reward platforms, and I would be like, I guess from my side is my experience of recognition is before these things existed. And so anyone says, oh, we can't do recognition in our work, I would challenge you to be like, but can you not say thank you?
Yeah.
And like to your point, the book, that was not on a platform. The ice cream, that's not on a platform. I'm not trying to sorry, Lewis is on the call, and but my point being is, if anyone thinks that they can't start because technology is a barrier, I'm saying that get started. You can build that culture, even if it's in your micro team, even if it's in a sub team, even if it's in the HR space. We'll make you can make HR the example of, hey, hold on a second, why is it that everyone seems to be more engaged, more connected in the HR space? Why do they just seem to be happier? Oh, turns out that we like to recognize each other, and we're like, oh, where's the money coming from? Oh no, it's not money related. It's just because we're humans.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's to say that any of the other things are better or worse. I think to highlight something is, a lot of people might have heard, but obviously for the global audience, in the UK, we had a thing called like clapping for heroes. And then following that, we had, well, claps don't pay bills. Recognition is great, but it cannot be at the expense of, fairness and equity and everything else. So it is that appreciation circle is the fact that you're going to have segments of recognition, reward and award. And kind of the opposite is, okay, if you just recognize people and don't reward them, obviously that doesn't pay the bills. But equally, you have people that might be earning very large sums of money that feel that they're completely underappreciated, even though you go, but you're paid lots. Like, I don't understand. And it's the fact that, it's very transactional, right? You do a job and you get paid, but there's very little humanity in it. So it's trying to find that balance between them.
Yeah, that's interesting. So like, there's a fine line you have to tread on, like deciding how and what, and what feels appropriate in my gut for this moment. I guess there's a lot of folks on this session now who are probably thinking like, okay, cool, that's great. How do I actually do this? When you talk about culture, James, and if we like put tooling to one side for the moment, there's like there are basics that everyone can do, like no arguments there. How do we like build that culture of recognizing each other? Because it's a very human thing, but it can't be too forced either. Like, so you maybe looking at primarily you and Alys, maybe because of the roles that you're in. Lewis, you're still like a manager or people as well, so you might have some ideas here. But Can you share anything like practical that you're doing or seeing or have done in your orgs to try and embed this and operationalize this as a thing?
I can suggest one thing before I think I'll let go around, which is if you're doing something new, and this can be scary. I know there might be people on this call that are like, I've never done it before. My biggest barrier is not that I believe that it's the right thing to do, but I'm scared of doing it wrong or getting it wrong or it, coming back. So for me, I think the biggest thing is, hey, if there's someone you want to recognize, but being quite open and honest, and that's sort of hopefully part of the wider culture of an organization, and saying, I really want to learn and be better to give recognition. Is there any way you can help me? Because typically people want to help others. It's kind of like an ingrained human civilization trait. And suddenly you're asking someone else for help, not just going up to them and giving them recognition. And then suddenly you can have a conversation. And for me, that's the starting point, because you've now broken that ice. You've been able to break that ice with the nerves that you have. You now have someone where you can be like, oh, okay, how's this land? And I don't know if that's what something Huggg does. You're talking about diagnostics and stuff, but there's one thing giving recognition. There's another thing about finding out if it's any good or not. It's like, did it land? So the flowers being like, oh, really, really sorry, next time I won't get you flowers. What would you prefer? And then, sorry, passing back into the room.
Yeah, there's two things I would say on this. The first is that like we're all human beings. So I think to your point, James, of like, like everybody wants to help and everybody wants to like is in it with you. So like be kind, like be kind to yourself first and foremost, I think is like something everybody should be doing. But like, you're trying to do something great here by improving a culture. So there's truthfully no wrong or right way to do it. I think starting off, even if it's just at the end of a call saying thank you to somebody, you don't need all of the tech. Now, there are lots of platforms, and mine obviously is preferred is Huggg, but that you don't, whether you just, if you use Slack, whether you just set up an email trail of like, your team, and like every Friday we're going to appreciate each other, just making it part of everybody's every day is not every day, but their routine, I think, is really important. And also being a leader in it, and being the person to go first, because quite often we don't give enough thanks and praise and appreciation because it's not part of our culture. It's not part of our culture as in the UK especially, we're not the best at it. But actually, if you just make it part of your everyday, of like maybe thanking someone after a call, that you probably would just be rushing off to the next thing. I think it's starting small is what I think, and not worrying about getting it wrong. Like, when have you ever been thanked or someone asked you whether you've had a good day and you thought, oh, that was the wrong way to do it? So try not to get too much into how it feels wrong or right, and just starting would be my feedback.
Yeah. And leading by example as well, like getting leadership involved. Is really important. I always say, like, if you can't get people to say thank you without a platform isn't the fix. You need to build it into your culture, get leadership built in, and lead by example, to kind of make it part of the culture.
Love that.
I'm going to be the vigilante in the room, but like, we don't all end up necessarily working at the greatest of organizations, but within your team there will be a micro culture. And so, to kind of Alys's point, that you might not be in a position to change the culture of the entire organization, but you can certainly change the way that your team and the team you work in behave with each other. And so, start there. Those are the people you interact with. Those are the people that are going to feel better because of the way you behave to them. And likewise, they will over time. And this is something, it's not a sprint. It's not like do it once and suddenly magic happens. It's kind of takes over time. After this, I'll send it to you, Adam. There's a Harvard report about a manager that went from I think it was in the top bottom 10% in terms of like being considered as an effective manager. Like in terms of a human point of view, and then within 1 year went to the 90th percentile. And it was very simple things.
Nice, love it. There's probably three like slightly tactical stuff that I've either done myself or seen done really well, which I quite like, which could be interesting to folks. So the first one, again, if you're in our Slack community, you'll know this or see this, but without even exchanging words, we've like immortalized our values for our community with like three emojis on Slack, and just stamping an emoji against someone's message or something like that like says a lot, and they mean a lot to a lot of folks, and some of them are rare to get as well. So like there's tiny little like really practical stuff that actually help to not just help people feel recognized, but also there's links to embedding and operationalizing your values in your business, which we won't get into today because that's like a whole conversation which I'm very passionate about. But you don't even need to exchange words. Like there's just little moments sometimes you can just like bang, done, and like that's not being lazy. That actually like has some meaning to it, which I think is really cool. Slightly beyond that sort of separate Slack channel. When I was a manager previously, obviously now we're a 2-person team, which is nice. But when I was a manager previously, I was co-founder of a company. We reached about 85 people, but I made it like I took it upon myself to make sure like I knew everyone in my business like really, really well. And I think that's doable up until a certain point. I don't know if it's called like the Dunbar effect or something like that, but you should be able to know up to about 100 people like pretty well. I struggled a little bit, so I did get to this point where it was a bit of advice for someone actually was like, start actually taking some notes when you're doing one-to-ones and skip level meetings, etc., about those individuals in your team. And over time, like hand on heart, like I knew everything about everyone in my company. Like I knew what was happening in their personal lives, their families, like outside of work, inside of work. Spent a lot of time understanding that. And I think to James's earlier point, if your managers can do this on a much smaller level, even with a team of 4 or 5, like there's no reason why they can't. And if you know those individuals really, really well, like you'll know exactly how they like to be recognized, what sort of gifts or rewards or recognition they like. And that's something that AI still can't quite do, I don't think, from like a human connection point of view. So that's like a little tip that I think managers definitely could start employing. Final thing from me, which I saw which was really cool, was a company called Duro. The VP of People and Talent showed us they have like a slide on their monthly town hall, which is called like the Lab Report, and it spotlights one employee in the business once a month, and it's specifically tied to how they're experimenting with AI. So they're trying to encourage this sort of playground type environment across the business. But what I think is very cool is that's not like a success story typically. It's usually like we built this and it failed and it was rubbish and whatever, but it is still recognizing like this ability to experiment and be brave and fail and all that sort of stuff, and just having some slots in town halls that spotlight that sort of stuff, I think is really cool. It's not just about success. So anyway, just thought I'd share a couple of things that I've seen along the way as well, which I thought could be quite cool. Thinking about time, folks, if there's some questions that you've got, feel free to share them. We'll cover them in a minute. Gitu, thank you for yours. We will come back to that in a moment. I promise we'll cover that. If anyone else has got one, throw it in. I'm just going to like take one moment to quickly screen share something, if that's okay, which could be super helpful to folks. And we'll share the link in the chat as well. But the folks at Huggg built something that was very, very cool. And it's like a recognition diagnostic on Notion, which we love. Big fans of. So just thought it'd be an interesting one to like screen share quickly, because I think if you're looking for a way to start mapping this out a little bit in your business, I think it's like a nice starting point. And James, Alice, I don't know if you've seen this before, but I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Hopefully people can see my screen. I'll share the link on this in a minute, and it'll be in the takeaway doc as well. But this is like an open, free like resource for folks. But if you are in this like spot where you are, like maybe thinking about like where are those moments today where we could weave in recognition, and also like what type of recognition might this be? Who might own it? And what might the like opportunity or channel or medium look like here as well? This is a really cool starting point that I just thought was nice to share with folks. If you haven't seen this yet, again, dive in and have your own peek through. But just want to give like a little nod to you, Lewis, and the team at Huggg, because I think this is like, there's a lot of moments in here, I think, that actually like people don't often think of as being like moments for recognition. And I think I think it's quite a cool thing to be able to sit down and look at. So
I actually have something on this that I think maybe links to one of the questions, so it kind of might be timely to just mention it. But and this is why I do truthfully love like recognizing, is it's not just about when somebody is doing their job. It's not about when somebody is going above and beyond with their job. It is that, but it's also when somebody's going through something in life, when something happens, or when, you know, we send out when it gets to winter, we send out vitamins that we get through Huggg. We send everybody a pack. Now, it might not be for everybody, but it's there, and I think that's really important, because it's like taking somebody as the whole person. It's not just you're here to do a job. You're here to do a job, which absolutely they are, but also you're a human being, and you know, it's shitty weather. We've all got, you know, we don't all have children, but there are colds going around. You know, there's just so much happening. It's things like that I think embeds more into the culture and has a big impact. So it's kind of answering Alana's question, which I had anyway, but then when you pulled that up, it made me think, yes, this is something that we do. I think it is just about, not just about the performance element, it's about life events, and it doesn't have to be on the big stage or in the OEV appreciation channel. It can just be, we do ours anonymously as well if people don't want to post it private, if they want to post it privately. I think that's really important, because it does have a big impact on how people feel about working for us and going above and beyond, because we've seen, okay, you know, we're treating you as the whole human.
Love that. We've got a couple of questions here as well. So like, let's take Gitu's first. Like, I think this is for everyone, so feel free to chip in if you've got an answer for this. I can share a couple of bits as well, but I would love one of you to go first if you want to. In case anyone can't see it, Gitu's asked or said, we often facilitate training with leaders on how to give feedback meaningfully. In what ways have you balanced giving constructive feedback with recognition and or appreciation?
So feedback of any kind is like an acknowledgement. So it is recognition, I guess, it is like one type form of recognition. I guess for me, it's like, yeah, just really having that split between recognition being the action and appreciation being the longer term impact of how someone feels. And in terms of the kind of having lots of sessions, so I don't know how many they've had. I don't know how effective it's been. Like, I don't know if there's anything from the diagnostics or any kind of has leadership's feedback from employees demonstrated that the training has worked. I'm just finishing some research, and there is lots of stuff about training being one of the worst forms of development. So apologies to the L&D folks that are in the call. And actually, for me, it's actions have been demonstrated to be one of the biggest change movers. So I would be like, okay, if you've got half an hour that you're taking out of each of those leaders, I would pivot it and say, hey, ask each of those leaders to sit down with their direct team, because obviously they might be looking after hundreds of people indirectly, and say, right, I want them to come back in the next month meeting, whatever it is, and tell me one thing about each one of their team members that's personal and not about what their day job is.
Love that. Any other adds to that one? I've got a couple that I can maybe share.
The only thing I would probably say is that, I think to James's point about, you know, on feedback. So I think feedback is a gift. The feedback is gift, and not whether it like constructive feedback. I think using a good feedback model is really, really important. We use radical candor. It's something that we've used for a long time. But actually, I think feedback can be constructive, but also like, are we using it in a way that's balanced? In that, are you using it towards recognition, or are you using it towards driving performance? And I think it comes back to that point around failure. Like, you know, we should be recognizing failure as much as we should be recognizing like high performance. And I don't always think that they should be linked to a reward in any way. I think actually, like, we should just be recognizing folks for being human. That's clearly my big thing at the moment, is like, you failed, so you like be recognized for being a beacon that you failed. So like, it's kind of different for me, so I wouldn't really have much more to add. But I think getting a good feedback model is important. I think that should be slightly separate from giving recognition.
Sorry, Liz.
I was just going to say, I agree on the framework front. We at Huggg, we use COIN, so it's connect, observe, impact, next steps. That one, it works really well for us, so worth taking a look into.
Love that one. I'm going to add a load of like awesome feedback resources and stuff into the takeaway doc for anyone watching, so like hopefully you can dive through. I think like one thing on your question, Gitu, and then we'll move on to try and cover the others as well with the time that we've got left. Like, for me, it's about stepping into the other person's shoes. Like, again, even if what they've tried has failed, it's trying to, like, again, appreciate yourself. Like, what have they tried to do? What have they been thinking? And like, what steps have they taken? And I think a lot of people struggle sometimes to step into other people's shoes or see it from their point of view, and that's a skill in itself that I think requires a lot of like high EQ as well. But anyway, gonna just take
I was going to say, Adam, that it kind of follows to: are you a results-based culture organization, or are you a values-based? Because it's values is inputs and the results is outputs, and so if you're recognizing values, you're recognizing inputs, and so it kind of speaks to the culture. And if you're trying to shift that culture, again, starting small, start just with your team and say, look, we're in a bigger system, but we're going to be the rebels. I'm regularly the vigilante rebel in these scenarios.
Yeah, definitely. Quick fire one, this one, maybe from Alona. I don't know if you've all seen this one, but any like smallest, easiest gestures that have had like the biggest impact for you, whether that's something that's happened to you or whether that's something you've done for someone, I guess.
I think, sorry, also, I called you Alona. I apologise, because when people mispronounce my name, it drives me bonkers, so I apologise. For us, it was definitely the vitamins. Like, that has been a big hit. Like, people really feel, oh wow, like this isn't just an organisation that's like, yeah, we're trying to tick a box by recognising. I think that went above and beyond, and I think people really loved it and commented on it a lot. It doesn't suit everyone. We can't fix, or we can't make everybody happy, and that's taken me quite some time and quite some years to like really be okay with. But you can't. We're an organisation of 550 people. I can't keep everybody happy, but actually, can I go with the majority, and can I go with what's truthfully feels right for me and for the team? Yeah.
I've got two. So one is directly being recognised, and that was literally, I didn't used to work in HR. I happened to do HR. I delivered some HR tech, and as a result of that, I was asked if I'd like to join the HR function. And that demonstration of, I know that you've never done HR before, but I believe in you as a person, and giving someone the opportunity, that has been hugely impactful for me, because I wouldn't be in this call probably, because I wouldn't have realized what it was about me that meant that I sort of was a big people person, even though having been told that since, I'm like, oh yeah, that was the golden thread. And indirect recognition is, every now and again I'll hear people, make that analogy, so the ice cream analogy, and so that's like, you guys could use that and it will come full circle, and I'll hear someone else mention it around, and it'll be on LinkedIn or something. I'll be like, that's cool. And so it's to acknowledge that you don't have to always give it to the individual. Sometimes it's like, I heard this amazing quote, people seeing that I'm not trying to realize I'm not trying to say that you will have to suddenly do that. But yeah.
We're all going to do it. We're all going to post on LinkedIn afterwards, the ice cream analogy.
Hundreds of ice cream posts.
Definitely.
Love that. Lewis, what about you? And then we'll wrap up after this probably.
Yeah, I think it's just surprising and thoughtful things. So I was just thinking back to last year when it was a heat wave, and our CEO on a really hot day sent a message around about 2:00 and went, I'm struggling to work because it's really hot. Why doesn't everyone just take the day off, take the afternoon off, go and cool off however you can, and here's some ice cream, and send some ice cream via Huggg. And it's like it's moments like that really make the difference. So yeah, that's probably my top recent one.
Nice. Arushi and Abby, I know you've asked questions as well. We probably don't have time to get stuck into them, so apologies. But like, they are interestingly like almost similar. Like there's Abby, I know you've asked about like how do we avoid this becoming like a competitive, gamified thing, I suppose, which is a really, really valid question. And also, Arushi, I think you've talked about like maybe there's some linkage there probably around like how we make this fair and inclusive as well. So I will see what I can do to like share some thoughts on that in the takeaway doc as well for folks, so we can try and cover those async. But folks, I want to wrap up now because we are bang on time. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to Lewis, James, Alice for joining as well and sharing thoughts. Really, really awesome. And let's all go post about ice cream and recognition.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
See you later.
Cheers.